Wait a minute. A black Corvette with a raccoon tail on his antenna?
That's the one.
Tony, we finally got some tangible evidence to nail that little creep. Did you get his name?
Yeah, Freddie Smith.
Freddie Smith. Sounds like a born troublemaker.
Are you gonna call his parents?
No way. I'm gonna take this kid to court and I'm gonna get his license revoked.
Count me in.
You're in. We'll build a case that'll go down in the law books.
He'll rue the day he ever messed with Micelli and Bauer.
Angela, those skid marks, they're evidence. You get the camera, I'll get the tape measure. Jesse, Samantha, you two are going to be my key prosecution witnesses. Everyone in this neighborhood is going to know what happened here today.
In living color.
And you know what else is great, kids? You two kids are going to get to see our justice system in action. Huh? All right, Freddie Smith.
I wonder if they let you do your nails in prison.
Oh, clapping. Hello. Welcome back to Ayo. OA, the Who's the Boss podcast. I'm Tori.
I'm Kevin.
And we are here to rewatch and discuss every single episode of Who's the Boss.
We got a voicemail.
Hey, it's Jenny again. So, thinking about all of these times where Jonathan is in like one or two scenes and then disappears, I'm curious what the like child labor laws were like in California back then, and how many hours a day a kid his age could work. And like maybe he actually had to go and work with his tutor or something, or there were limits to how much time he could actually spend on set. And so I'm just curious or wondering, like, maybe that has something to do with it. Anyway, love the show. Keep up the good work. Bye.
That's a good question. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Like, maybe he had more schoolwork, or he was technically supposed to do more hours of... Because I'm pretty sure that they can work the same amount. Like, they would have been on set the same amount of time, but he may have had to have more hours of schoolwork because he was younger than her. I'm not really sure.
I know. I mean, maybe they just... I don't know. I feel like it was hard to write.
I do think it was hard.
Character in general.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you look at shows today, like... that show that I took the kids to before COVID, that Just Roll With It. I mean, the one kid's really young, and he's in the whole episode.
Yeah.
I mean, again, maybe the laws have changed or whatever. Right, I don't know, but I feel like Jonathan was hard to write for in this show. Like he worked for when he was needed, but I don't know. There were a few episodes about him, right? And,
right.
You know what I mean?
But like
the
karate
week,
one, the last episode
the gymnastics one.
The last episode we covered where he was being a little Tony. I mean, it was great. If there could have just been more stuff like that, I think ways to incorporate him, it would have been great. And again, like we've said, we've never seen Jonathan at school. We've never, and it may change a little bit as he gets a bit older. But he is kind of just forgotten about because...
Yeah, I guess we never have seen him at school.
No.
That's a good point.
We've gone with Samantha to school.
Yeah, right.
But never with him.
Oh, yeah, what a good point.
And I think it was like that for a lot of the little brothers on these shows. Ben on Growing Pains, DJ on Roseanne. They always kind of were just forgotten.
Yeah. I mean, just because the story's just based around the adults. I mean, especially in this show.
And...
like, even if you think about Samantha, like... Well, this particular episode itself is her. She features her in it, but there's not a ton about her. I mean, it becomes more about Tony and Angela and Mona and what they're doing. You know, I don't know. It's interesting.
I just think too, it's easier to have more interesting storylines with her because, she's dating now and she has these different things at school, and then there's this whole thing with the driving, and pretty soon she's going to get her first job. So there's just more material to work with.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Also, we learned in one of those behind-the-scenes things that we watched that originally Who's the Boss was not supposed to be in the family time slot. They really wanted it to focus more on the adults. And then once they realized they were going to be in the 8 o'clock time slot, they had to kind of think about the show as reimagine the show as more of a family show than about the adults.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, gosh, I wonder what that would have been like.
It would have probably been fantastic.
Oh, you think?
I don't know if it could have been more...
You mean in like later night, right? Like
yeah, like if it could have had a little more adult humor and not
it would have been more like Moonlighting, probably.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah,
without Tony and Angela hooking up at all again.
I know, still,
but like extra sexual tension.
Okay, so I have a couple little things, and I probably should have written them down, but I didn't because I like to just be surprised by myself.
Me too.
So, excuse me. I figured out where I knew Lord Acina from, and it just came to me tonight as we were rewatching this episode. Angela mentioned something about street signs to Tony, and then I was like, wait a minute. Roseanne Lord Acina is the girl where Tony put the street sign under her window that said easy access. So I wonder if Roseanne Lord Acina was Rose Lord Acina's daughter, because that's, I believe, who he says in A Fishy Tale. I told them Rose Lord Acina was bad news. And then Jennifer Johnson on Facebook let me know that the reason why Borofsky sounds familiar is because it is going to be in an upcoming episode where Jesse is going to admit to kissing Debbie Borofsky.
Oh.
Yeah, so Samantha's going to want that first place trophy taken away from them. Then she's not going to care so much anymore. So yeah, thank you, Jennifer, and thank you, me, for figuring out Lord Acina. Oh my goodness.
Job.
And we were joking that if only there was like some sort of trivia contest for who's the boss knowledge, at this point I think we'd have a chance to win here.
You would. Come on.
No, I meant me and Jennifer, not me.
Oh, okay, good. I was hoping you didn't mean me because I can't remember the last episode.
Okay, and then an interesting thing this week was Judith Light popped up in the new Pink video.
What was she doing there?
So Pink released a video. It's for a song called All I Know So Far, which is also the name of the upcoming album that the song is on. It's a great song. I've been listening to it for days. It's really good.
Oh, good.
And the video is beautifully shot. It's like a little movie, and it's basically all she knows of her life so far. And she's telling her daughter this story about kind of how she became who she is. And so it starts off with like her having sort of a troubled childhood, and Judith Light plays her mom.
Ah, I see.
It is done really in this kind of like storybook sort of fantasy way. It's really good. And then Cher plays God. So, I mean, the whole video is just pretty fantastic all around.
All right, I'll have to check that out.
Yeah. Thing I wanted to mention before we start is that yesterday or the day before, AV asked to hear the pilot episode of this podcast.
I know.
And I played it in the car a little bit.
Which is funny because on the same day I listened to the pilot at
Why
work.
did you? Just because?
Well,
it just started playing?
It's like I worked later the other night and I had a little downtime and I just listened. I was on Spotify and on my computer and it was like recommending things and it recommended our podcast to me. Because I follow it, right. But it was like... And I'm like, let me listen to the pilot really quick. Oh, my gosh.
Oh, it's so...
Am I sorry I listened to that?
No, I know. I just want to say thank you. Thank you, guys, for sticking with us and for making it this far. And it's like if you have any friends that you think might be interested in this podcast...
Just tell them to skip the pilot.
And I don't know how long... I mean, our microphones were not great at the beginning. They're better now.
Yeah, in the beginning we sounded... I just sounded like I was in the kitchen and the microphone was in the living room.
But, we didn't know what we were doing.
No, we didn't.
And I know we've said this before, and I'm just so embarrassed by that pilot. But not that I think we're great now. We're marginally better now. But I just want to say thank you so much for sticking with us and for... Listen, I mean, I'm talking so slow in that first episode. I don't know what the hell is going on. So if you have any friends that you think would like this podcast, please recommend it, but be like, their first few episodes, they're kind of terrible, but just, it's like a lot of people say that about Schitt's Creek.
I was supposed to say that, like, about TV shows. I'm like, I don't know, I saw the pilot. Let me see if I like the characters after a while. And maybe that's what it is. Like, eventually it's like, I'm
just hoping that if anyone discovers us, they find us with like a new episode, and then maybe we'll go back, and then they'd be more forgiving. But
yeah, right. Well.
Anyway, I mean, come on. Who are we doing this for? Just the few of us that are hanging around here, and that's all we need. Okay.
I suppose.
So today we're going to cover season 4, episode 10.
Yeah.
The title is Car and Driver. It first premiered on Tuesday, December 1st, 1987. The TV Guide summary says Jesse makes the mistake of allowing an unlicensed Sam to take the wheel in Tony's van. That's it. It's the whole summary.
And I'm going to guess the name comes from the magazine Car and Driver.
I'm guessing.
Well, the magazine came out in 1955. So
it was definitely a well-known.
Definitely a take on Car and Driver, the magazine.
Right.
Being named Car and Driver. Anyway.
Should be Van and Driver.
Well, I'm just getting technical.
Although I guess Freddie Smith was the Car and Driver.
Freddie Smith. So do you want my
of course
my description?
Yes.
All right, so this is from Internet Movie Database. I've got, even though she doesn't have a driver's license, Samantha secretly takes her father's car, which should be van there too, I guess.
Yeah.
Secretly takes her father's car for a drive and crashes it. She then lets Jesse take the blame. I mean, it's pretty direct, right?
Yeah, but not a true account. I mean,
no, not at all. But
it makes it sound like she was sneaking by herself to the car and then blamed it on Jesse.
Right, nobody was looking and she got in the car.
Right.
Here's the storyline. Tony trusts Jesse to drive his truck.
Why can't anyone put van in these?
To drive his truck while delivering meals to seniors, but unlicensed Sam seduces him into letting her drive far less responsibly. The kids keep quiet about their switch after being hit by an adolescent speed devil, Freddie Smith, whom Tony and Angela recognize and hate enough to start a court case.
Oh, God, hate? Come on.
Well, I'm just reading what it says.
No, I know.
No, and then it says, with Jesse in the stand, Sam confesses, causing further mayhem in Judge Franklin Kreshek's normally quiet courtroom.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So
let's see if it lives up to that.
Yeah. Now, this was written by John Donnelly and Clay Graham. We've heard their names before. They're a writing team that started on Benson and Different Strokes. They wrote several episodes of Who's the Boss together. And then at some point, John Donnelly will leave and Clay Graham will go on and write more. So now, when this episode first opens, Mona, Tony, and Angela are in the kitchen, and they're cleaning up because Tony has just made large batches of lasagna that they have delivered to senior citizens.
Yes.
He's cleaning a very large bowl.
Yeah, it's a big bowl.
But I'm guessing that's where he was mixing all
for
the large batch.
And the meat.
Mona is eating some of the product, and she's like, this is so good, thank you.
Yeah.
And then Angela's like,
meh.
Yeah. And then he's like, I'm sorry, what? And she's like, oh, no, I meant to say it was delicious.
I mean, why don't you keep your mouth shut?
I know.
How about that?
Like, has Angela ever criticized Tony's cooking before?
I don't know, but...
Yeah, this is going to get ugly here. So then she's like, it was a little bland. And Tony's like, well, for your information, a lot of the seniors that we're delivering meals to, they have high blood pressure and stuff, and they're on a low-salt diet. And she's like, oh, of course. It was a little runny. But I'm sure it's hard to prepare food in such large quantities.
Well, she says it's a little bland, too.
What? I already said that.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah. That's where he was saying that they can't have as much salt.
Yes. A little runny. Okay,
yeah.
Right.
But then, the idea of runny lasagna really grosses me out.
I know. I don't know what that means.
Does that just mean that the sauce was, really liquidy?
Like runny, yeah, but it'd be, really watery.
Yeah, I don't know.
To be runny.
All of that grosses me out.
And
so... I
mean, for a minute, can we talk about Mona's sweater?
Well, hang on. Oh. We will, but we're not there yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So
I'm so excited about it.
So Tony says, Angela says, I'm sure it's difficult to prepare food in such large quantities. And he's like, oh, no, not really. I cook for you every night.
Right.
I know. Gloves are on there. That's like that
I think
joke.
It's gloves are off.
I'm sorry. Gloves are on.
It's gloves are off. Well, the gloves are on. At first, they're on.
Right. Right. Gloves are off. Okay,
That's
sorry.
okay. I keep repeating myself, so.
But, now I lost my train of thought.
Oh,
Hang on.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm going to get it back here. It's going to happen. Here we go. Okay.
Because he says he makes large quantities of foods every night.
So this bickering between them is on par with Raymond's parents on Everybody Loves Raymond.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean?
Point.
That is the arguing or the bickering and the snapback that a married couple have like after 30 years. So poor Angela and Tony have now skipped over everything and gone straight to Ray Romano's parents arguing in the kitchen. So he says, no, I cook for you every night, and now my YouTube's not going to play. Oh, no, there you go.
Every night, yeah. And then, apparently he makes large portions.
Right, because Angela, and Mona just laughs. She thinks that is the funniest thing she's heard in a while. So she's like, okay, well, I'm leaving. And Tony's like, wait a minute, we're not done cleaning up. You're going to need to help out.
Right.
And she says, I've done my bit for the seniors. I jogged by the retirement home every morning in my tank top.
Oh, God.
Okay, now you can talk about the sweater.
Well, have you leave me there at that point when she's talking about jogging by the... I mean, well, the one thing to note about that segment is the fact that Tony says it's something to look forward to in my old age. So if Mona is still jogging by the retirement home when Tony qualifies to be in the retirement home, that's going to be a sight. Because Mona's going to be like, 90, 100. Tony's in the...
I know.
In the home.
In her 80s.
It'll be an interesting look.
Depending on... right, because Tony's not going to go to the home. Hopefully.
Right, till
he's like in his 80s.
Right. I mean, that's...
So, Mona would be like 100.
That's a bizarre joke. Yeah. Anyway, her sweater looks like the Game of Frogger. It's a weird...
It does. It also kind of reminds me
almost.
of
I mean, it's an
Donkey
ugly.
Kong.
It's like an ugly Christmas sweater you would wear now because it's cool.
Yes, absolutely.
Or Donkey Kong. It does. That's another good one. It looks like Donkey Kong. What's happening there?
But I mean, if you could get your hands on this sweater now without the shoulder pads, it would be fantastic.
Yeah, tear those things right out.
Okay, so then they hear luckily to break the tension in this kitchen, which is getting thick. They hear screeching tires, and they're like, "Oh no, it's him again!" And my YouTube will not play.
See,
there we go.
And the funny thing is that they heard the screeching tires all the way from the street into the kitchen.
Yes,
and then they would go running like lunatics.
So he says, "There he is again. I'm gonna get that maniac." So Tony goes running out to the front and runs out the front door. And he's screaming at the car, this is a neighborhood, and there are pets and elderly, in this, and they should be able to run free. And then Angela says, and sometimes I park my Jag in the street.
I know.
Yes, nobody cares, Angela.
Let me tell you something. If this was today, 2 words, 1 app, next door.
Right.
This guy would be done in a minute because everybody would be like...
Tony just screamed into the street what people write on next door. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Point. Or the Ring app.
I mean, and then that's it. Everybody knows who the guy with the...
raccoon tail, whatever.
The raccoon tail hanging. Yeah. Everybody would know who he is on. Everybody would have video of it.
Right.
Like from their house.
Absolutely. So I also look at little Angela. She's so cute here in her little sweater and her apron. This was Angela hard at work all day making lasagna. But notice that the apron's still clean. No, Tony probably didn't let her do anything.
I know.
So she was
ready.
He comes back in the house and he's like, that kid was doing Mach 2 in a 25.
Yeah, he thinks he's so funny.
And they ask him, did you get the license plate number? And he says, you bet. And then he says, KL56218.
Which
Okay, so I looked this up a bit.
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, why? Well, let's just go on.
Okay.
Basically, that's their phone number.
Right.
Right. So Angela's like supposed to write down, and she's like, oh, that's our phone number.
Right.
But why is Tony so stupid all of a sudden that he tried to take down a license plate and then he just recited their phone? And like all of a sudden he's an idiot. I don't understand that part either.
I don't understand why he would have immediately forgotten the license plate. Like sometimes, even if you're trying to look at it and then you forget, you're going to get a few numbers. But yes, he's gotten confused here.
Yeah, pretty funny.
And Tony's using old terminology. So at this point, telephone numbers were all numbers. So the number would have been 555.
Right, but there was a time when phone numbers were letters.
Yes. So in the 60s, I believe it ended like towards the end of the 60s, and you would actually connect to the operator, and then you would tell them the number, and then they would plug it in for you and connect you.
Can you connect me to KL5?
Right. So KL5 would have also been known as Klondike.
Oh, okay.
Klondike 56218. And then there was like Turner 5 or Turner whatever, blah, 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 blah. And the first two letters indicated the first two letters that you dial on the phone. So K and L are both 5 because all TV numbers are 555.
But I wonder, I remember like even on Seinfeld, they say KL5.
Yes. Yeah.
So
I don't know if they're just using old terminology or some people just didn't let it go.
Even in the 90s, like, yeah, I mean, it could have been like Seinfeld's way of paying homage to old.
Right.
Who knows? It's just funny. Like, a lot of their stuff is KL5.
Right. Yeah.
Anytime I think Seinfeld had a phone number,
because it's 555. KL is 555.
Right, but I'm saying it's funny that they just didn't say 555.
Right.
For years, everyone was saying 555.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, that was interesting. And imagine a time when numbers were. I mean, that was even before us as kids. Using like Klondike or Turner or using an operator to connect your line.
Yeah, interesting.
Of course, we had we had rotary phones and we thought that was super fancy. And now our kids look at that and don't understand what they're looking at.
Know. They look at a regular phone.
Right. So, yes, Angela says that's our phone number. Now, outside, Jesse and Samantha are almost done dropping off lasagnas. They have 3 more to go. So Tony prepared them, and then they went and dropped all of them off.
All right.
So Jesse, so now we see Jesse again. This is the second episode that he's in. And I gotta say, I like Jesse a lot more in this episode than I did in the first one.
Yeah, it's true.
And he's very happy to be doing this deed. He's like, I really love talking to older people. They're so wise. They have such a sense of history. And Samantha says, yeah, Mrs. So-and-so, I can't remember the name, actually remembers the original cast of Saturday Night Live.
That's funny.
I know. So then Samantha's, she gets into the van and she starts pretending that she's driving it. And she's like, pedal to the metal, burn rubber, eat my dust, just saying ridiculous things that no one would actually say behind the wheel of an automobile.
Now, ever.
Right. And Jesse's like, okay, well, if you're through playing, scoot over because we still have 3 more deliveries. And she's like, oh, come on, just let me drive there. And he says, no, absolutely not. Your father trusted me with his van, so you need to just scoot over. So she agrees and she gets over and they get in the van. And then she tells him, you're no fun. And he's like, well, driving isn't supposed to be fun. It's a responsibility.
Yeah,
so Jesse,
he's right.
Yes. So we still see Jesse. We still see the core of Jesse here, which is 1, he wants to help others. 2, he's quite the rule follower, but he's not the mansplainer and jerk that he was in the first episode.
Yeah, I know, really.
So I'm liking him more. So then they pull off and leave, and I'm pretty sure the driving away scene is just like what they didn't use from the opening.
I know, it's great. It's like the yellow leaves everywhere, and then they're just, there they go, delivering there.
Driving through Fairfield. Okay, so now we cut to them getting back to the house. And the front door opens. You already know
it's a problem.
Yeah, Jesse walks in, he's like, I can't believe it. I cannot believe it. And Sam's like, Jesse, it wasn't your fault. And he says, it was my fault. She said, I was driving, and he said, yes, but, I let you drive, and I knew that I shouldn't. So at some point between leaving the house and one of the 3 deliveries, she talked him into letting her drive.
Yeah, she said,
I charmed you into it.
And you didn't stand a chance.
Right. So he's like, they're arguing, and he's like, well, we're in a crisis here. We should be like coming together instead of.
Well, crisis is supposed to bring people together. Right. Is what he says.
We're going to get closer. She says.
Then Sam says, if crisis brings us together, we're going to get closer and closer.
Because her dad doesn't know yet,
right.
And he's worried, and he asks, like, are you sure you don't have whiplash? She says she's fine, that the car barely hit them. So whatever this little accident doesn't seem like it was too big of a deal, and it doesn't seem like it was Samantha's fault at all. Like somebody hit them, but so they're worried that Tony's going to notice the dent, but Samantha's like, he may not even see it and we'll be fine. I mean, honestly, look at that van. Is one more dent going to be noticeable?
Right. I mean,
like half the paint on the sides
is like primer. Right. Like, how would he ever notice?
But Jessie says, we need to tell him, and she's like, okay, but you understand that means I'm going to be grounded for life and that you and I are not going to be able to see each other anymore. And I will never see the inside of a Bloomingdale's again.
Bloomingdale's.
So she's like, no, it's settled. We cannot tell him. But Jesse, again, he's like, I don't think that we would be able to live with ourselves if we lie about this. And she says, well, the key word here is live.
Yeah, I know. And it's funny. Like he's trying. He's really being very responsible.
Right. Yeah. He wants to tell the truth. And she says, it's not, would it really be bad to lie if it's better for him if we don't tell him the truth? Because the three most stressful things a person could go through is the death of a loved one, divorce, and having a daughter who drives a van without a license.
Oh. Okay.
But then Jesse's like, okay, you're really you're stretching here, but, I don't know. So right then, Tony comes in, and he says, Samantha, we need to talk.
Yeah, they already know. And then immediately they think
yes, they're like, knows. Oh, crap, he already knows. And I love, he's carrying the dry cleaning that I think is referenced later. So
yeah, I didn't even really think about it, that he walked in with a handful of dry cleaning.
And Jesse says, Tony, it was all my fault. And he's like, okay, well then, Jesse, I'm really disappointed to you. I ran into Mrs. O'Reilly, and she says when the lasagna got to her house, it was all cold and gummy.
All right, time out.
Yeah.
How is lasagna gummy?
So my thought is that the pasta would just kind of have gotten mushy, maybe from.
Tony.
But if your pasta's gummy, then you're cooking it too long.
Right. This is what we've learned so far about Tony's lasagna: that it's gummy, it's bland, it's runny. Like this lasagna sounds terrible.
It really does. But
I'm no, chef or Italian. I know I can make a better lasagna.
I'm sure Tony's
than this
lasagna
gummy,
was
bland,
fine.
Runny mess.
I think Angela's just in a mood. And
guess.
Mrs. O'Reilly is a complainer. I'm sure his lasagna was fine. It's Tony.
Miss O'Reilly's Irish, so what does she know about lasagna?
Well, that's true. Maybe she just has a beef with Tony about something.
Well, you can tell he's already she's a little...
Yeah, and then they're like, oh, I'm so sorry. We really blew it. We'll never let it happen again. And he's like, that's all right. Mrs. O'Reilly's kind of cold and gummy herself.
I know. What does that mean?
Right. So I think Tony knows Miss O'Reilly's kind
Meanwhile,
of
they're helping out these people and they're making fun of them.
Now, Angela says, I commend you guys. You gave up a Saturday to feed those less fortunate than us. And she says, since we're all out of medals, instead, we came up with a special way to show you our appreciation. Now, I think this is cute because what does Angela have to do with any of this?
I don't know. But you know what? What I got out of it, after I read deep into this, is that this was all Angela's idea. Oh. And that, Angela was like, you should reward them with letting them go to the movies or go do something. Because
I figured it was Jesse's idea. Because Jesse's Mr.
Wait a minute, Jesse's idea to go to the movies?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you meant getting the kids to deliver lasagna was Angela's idea.
Oh, no. I thought
I
that's
gotcha.
what...
Okay.
No, we are not on the same...
No.
My thought was that it was Angela's idea to reward them with the movie.
Okay,
she's the one who comes in so excited about it.
I do agree with that.
I probably
at some point, she and Tony were talking, and she was like, I think it'd be really nice if we let them go to the movies or whatever. Angela may even be paying for a portion of this. But I think it's really sweet because this is her really taking an active participation in Samantha.
Right.
It's not her kid. What does she care?
Okay, I was wondering why you were like, oh, okay.
No, I thought you meant it was Angela that talked them into delivering the lasagnas. And so that's why she felt that they should pay them back. But I think that this was probably Jesse's idea to deliver the lasagnas. And then Angela thought it would be nice to treat them since they helped out and they did such a good... Yeah, God. Okay. Or Jesse and Tony. This is all part of Jesse and Tony's latchkey kid operation or whatever it is that he does. She says, tell them what they've won. And he says, well, the cute couple from Fairfield has won a round trip, all expense paid movie for two at the Cineplex of their choice. And then he asks Jesse, do you still have the keys to the van?
Yeah.
And he's like, yep, right here. And he says, okay, well, hold on to them because tonight's special. And you get to take my daughter out in the style to which she's accustomed, which is in that van.
I guess. In the van and to the movies, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, but in that van, what style she's accustomed.
So now, do you think that Tony doesn't really let Jesse and Samantha go out on dates otherwise?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think this was a rare occasion.
Like, do they just hang out when he's over there, like, or, you know, doing something like this is how they would spend time together?
I mean, I don't know. Where's Jesse been the last 4 or 5 episodes?
That's a good point. And it seems like...
So confused.
Yeah.
He's suddenly
it seems
here.
like she hasn't really... I mean, I know she dated Chad, but did we ever really see them go on dates?
I don't know.
I think it was just kind of a school thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe this is a big step. Is that fireworks?
Yeah.
It's been Mother's Day fireworks today.
Today's Mother's Day.
So right then, as everyone's excited about going out on this date, Jonathan walks in and he says, "Hey, Tony, did you see the dent in your van?"
No, Tony. Jonathan just comes in and drops a bomb and then walks out of the room.
Just completely walks through and keeps going.
Your fender, and I like that it's your fender has a new dent.
Right.
So you already know that there's other old dents already there, and Jonathan noticed a new dent amongst all the old dents.
Come on, Jonathan. Are you counting dents? How did you notice that?
Stay in your lane, kid.
Again, they needed something for poor Jonathan to do, so he gets thrown under the bus where he just gets Sam in trouble.
Delivers the line about the dent, and then walks away.
So then Tony, as soon as Jonathan says that, Jesse just deflates.
I know.
He's like, oh, man. And then Tony says, give me the keys. And Jesse just hands them to him. So he says, what do you mean there's a dent in the fender? So Sam's like, we were going to tell you, but... And then Jesse says, let me explain. So Jesse's getting ready to tell the whole thing. We were in a little accident, and Tony's like, okay, well, are you guys okay? And he's like, yeah, we're fine. It was just a little bump. It's not that big of a deal. And then they bring up that it happened. They were at the corner, Maple and Grand, at a stop sign. They were stopped. Samantha's not letting on as to who was driving the car, just what was happening with the car.
Yeah, and then well played by Samantha.
Right, and she says that they had their seatbelts on, and the radio tuned in to the traffic report.
Right.
Now, if that's not something that Tony has told Sam in the past, I don't know what would be.
Right. You always listen to the traffic report when you're driving.
No time for music.
The traffic report.
And Jesse's like, Sam, we should be honest here. And then Sam's like, okay, we were listening to heavy metal.
Right, the heavy metal station, which is funny.
And Jesse wants to say something, but he can't. So then Samantha says, we heard a screech, we looked back, and we saw this black Corvette skidding towards us. So now, as soon as Tony hears the black Corvette, he's like, wait a minute, did this have a raccoon tail on the antenna? And they're like, yeah, that's him. And Tony's like, that's the guy. And Angela's excited. She's like, we finally have some evidence to nail this little creep. So they asked Jesse, did you get his name? And he says, yeah, Freddie Smith.
I know. Look at Tony. I mean, I say look at his face. It's insane here.
Freddie Smith. This is Kevin's favorite part of the episode.
Freddie Smith.
He looks a bit deranged.
I know, he does. It's insane. Like, really? This is all you got? This is it.
He says Freddie Smith sounds like a born troublemaker.
Yeah.
So Angela's
But I like that Angela's like, you're going to call his parents? No, I'm going to take him to court. Right. I mean, like, this episode escalated. Right. Like, this took a turn. We're going to court. I'm not really sure who's suing who or what's happening or how you can even get it to escalate it to court this fast without a lot of evidence.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Because that does take years, but not here.
Out of nowhere. We're taking him to court. It's like, okay.
So he wants to take him to court to get his license revoked. They're going to build a case against him.
A monumental case.
And then Angela says he will rue the day he ever messed with Bauer and Micelli, or Micelli and Bauer.
Yeah, one of the two.
So then he says, the skid marks out front are evidence. You go get the camera, I'll get the tape measure. And they go running out the front door. Very excited.
It's just like they're insane all of a sudden.
I know. But this is...
Two idiots.
Like, they've been arguing with each other, and now they have an outlet to do something together. So they're super jazzed. They're like, okay, this is much better. And then he says to the kids, Samantha, Jesse, you two are going to be my key prosecution witnesses, and you're going to learn. He's like, everyone in this neighborhood is going to know what happened here today. And then you're going to learn how great the justice system is. Yeah. You're going to get to see it in action. So then they go out the front door, and he's still yelling, "All right, Freddie Smith." Like, I'm coming for you.
And he cannot say Smith.
Yeah, every time he only says Smith, it sounds like he says Smith.
Freddie Smith.
It's like me accidentally saying Kimmy shit instead of Kimmy Schmidt.
Yeah, pretty much.
So then, as they walk out the front door, Samantha says, I wonder if they let you do your nails in prison. And she sits down. Okay, so now we cut
to this crazy courtroom shot.
Yeah, straight to the courthouse, outside of the courthouse. I wonder what this building is.
I don't know.
If it's just some little building in Rye, New York, or just some sort of like standard B-roll footage. I have no idea.
That's all we know.
Yeah, or actually, it's probably something they shot here. There's
true too. Well, I'd be honest with you. It looks like the front of the studio, the lot that I work on. That there's a area in the front that they call I think it's called the White House or something. And not the White House. I forget what it's called, but it looks like the front of our studio, our lot, but it's not. But it does kind of look like it.
I was going to say, because they shot it at the studio across the street from you, so. I mean, they shot the show there, Sunset Gower.
Yeah. They shot the show at Sunset Gower. I thought they shot at Universal.
No, Sunset Gower, Stage 77, I think we learned in one of those documentaries.
See? We're halfway through this almost, and I don't even know where it was shot. Okay. No, I thought it was shot at Universal. Sorry.
I believe it was for the first season.
Okay, that's where I'm getting confused.
They started off there, and then they moved it.
Moved to Sunset.
So you are right. So, yes.
Okay, well, that building looks like Sunset Bronson, which is where I work.
Oh, right.
The same lot that I work on.
But it is, you're saying it looks like, but it is not the same building.
I don't know. I'll have to show you a picture of it.
All right, yeah.
But anyway.
Okay. Anyway. So they go to the inside of the courtroom, and Jesse and Sam walk in, and Angela says, there are our 2 star witnesses. And Tony walks over to them all proud, and he says, Samantha says to him, I've been thinking, I really don't know that you need us here. And he's like, of course I need you here. You're the 2 most important witnesses. You're the driver, and you are the passenger. And he doesn't specify who's who, so they're like, yep, that's us.
Yeah, exactly. There's no, you're right.
Then he notices that Sam's looking nervous, and he's like, Sam, you look white. Like, calm down. There's no reason to be nervous. You just get up there, and you tell exactly what you remember that happened that day, and as long as you tell the truth, we're going to be okay. He walks away, and they're like, oh my God, this is awful. So Jesse's sweating, and she's like, will you please stop sweating? A courthouse is a very bad place to look guilty. And then Jesse said, yeah, it's also a really bad place to lie. Now, in walks Freddie Smith. So we see him for the first time.
Freddie Smith.
Yeah. And Samantha says, do you think that he knows that I was the one in the driver's seat? And Jesse's like, no way. There's no way. He saw me get out of the driver's side, so there's no way he knows. Now, he walks up to them with his dad. He's with his dad here. And he says, hey, you two, it was your fault, not mine. Nobody comes to a complete stop at a stop sign.
Right. And his lawyer immediately shuts him up after that.
No, I think that's his dad.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
I thought it was the lawyer.
His dad says, don't talk to the enemy or something like that. And then they go sit down because the lawyer looks different, I believe, than this guy. And
you're right.
There is someone listed here as Frank Smith. Okay, so now the kid here playing Freddie Smith is a guy named Christian Hoff. And he looks super familiar to me, but I don't know why.
I know, he looks familiar to me too, and I don't know why.
He was in Encino Man, but he's Boog,
really?
Skater number 2.
Oh, which means he didn't have any lines.
And he's in an episode of Ugly Betty, which we've been watching, but I cannot remember who D.A. Richard Blackman is in there. But yeah, so when you go through his listings, a lot of TV stuff went in the 80s. And he was on the TV show Richie Rich, 35 episodes, playing Freckles Friendly, or Pee-wee or Freckles. He played, that's what it says.
Okay.
He was on Kids Incorporated, but it looks like just one episode. 21 Jump Street, Quantum Leap. So yeah, like a lot of things that you probably just saw him in, but you didn't know where you know him from. And then his father was played by, his name is Jack Smith, and he's played by Anthony Peck.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Let me see what he's... Oh, yeah, I saw this. He's been in like quite a few movies, and he was in Die Hard. He was on Days of Our Lives for a bit.
He was in Die Hard. I wonder what he played in Die Hard.
Let me see. Young Cop.
Oh, yeah, forget it.
And then he's also in Die Hard with a Vengeance as Ricky Walsh.
Oh, that's interesting. He's in two different Die Hard movies as two different characters.
Yeah. Well, maybe the young cop grew up, and then he got a bigger... so, yeah. We got a bigger case.
Young cop on Die Hard. I wonder. I'm going to look for him on Christmas Eve when I watch it. Because I watch it every Christmas.
Okay, so now the judge comes in, and he's like, they say, all rise, to court CO14 now in session with the Honorable Judge Franklin
Kreshik.
Thank you.
K-R-E-S.
Now, Kreshik, is that
what?
Is that a throwback or an homage to in one of those, like a West Side Story or a... Officer.
You're thinking of
no,
Officer
I'm thinking about yes, that's exactly. I'm thinking of Officer Krumke or whatever his name.
Yeah,
Krumke.
yeah,
Okay,
Krumke.
yeah. So this guy started acting in the 40s. He's also been in a ton of stuff. Again, one of those faces where he looks familiar to me, but I can't pinpoint where I would know him from.
Yeah, me too. That my first thing I said to you when we watched the episode. I'm like, that judge, I've seen him before.
Yeah, he passed away in...
I was convinced he was in Seinfeld, but he's not.
Yeah, couldn't find that. He passed away in 2013 at the age of 86. Okay, so to get this started here, he sits down and he's like, good morning. This is the state of Connecticut versus Freddie Smith. Now, in walks Mona, late.
I know, and just makes a complete spectacle of herself.
And there just happens to be a seat open for her. And she comes sauntering in, and she's like, "What a lovely day for hanging someone."
I know, and you know what? When this scene first started, I thought for sure the judge was either A, going to know Mona.
Oh, that would have been funny.
I know. Or B, be very, intrigued by Mona, you know what I mean?
Right.
And it was neither.
Yeah, he's just kind of like,
he's like, sit down, woman. Who are you?
I will not tolerate this disruption in my courtroom.
Exactly.
And she says, keep your robe on. And she said, I'm sorry I'm late. I had a hard time finding a place to park. Let me know if the mayor needs his spot.
I know, and she would immediately been contempt. You can never just walk into a courtroom and make such a spectacle of yourself without being thrown right out.
And Angela's in the background, just covering her face. Now, I love that Angela is sitting next to Tony here. This really, again, this has nothing to do with her, but I think it's cute that she's there. I mean, I know she's been helping Tony and stuff, but it's his van.
Right.
She's not sitting in the audience. She's sitting up at the table. There's not even enough room for her at this table that they just kind of have her off to the side.
Right.
Now, they need to have her there because there are going to be a few key moments where we need Angela reactions, and she needs to be right there. But I just thought that was cute. He's like, if you're finished, please sit down and we'll proceed. Again, this is the state of Connecticut versus Freddie Smith, a minor. And then the prosecution stands up and Tony's lawyer says, we are asking that Mr. Smith's license be suspended for reckless driving.
Right. And then immediately Tony jumps up and he's like, let's wipe this garbage from the street. Again, you would not be able to do that in a courtroom. No. Wipe this garbage from the street.
And let's also remember, as Mona comes in and demands a hanging, that this is like a 15 or this is a 16 or 17-year-old kid. Yeah. Everybody calm the hell down.
Right.
We know that Freddie's kind of a jerk, but let's everyone simmer down. So Freddie's lawyer stands up and is like, I would like that slur to be stricken from the record and the witness to be severely punished. And then the judge is like, sure, whatever she said to the stenographer. Are there still courtroom stenographers?
Yes.
Probably, right?
Yes, there are.
I was always fascinated by this.
I know.
I don't understand how it works. Right, but somehow they type
and it's still the
in
same
shorthand.
I mean, it's not like a ribbon that's like a flow of paper that's constantly running. Now I think it's done computerized.
Right.
But the last time I was actually on a jury, and I remember staring at the stenographer for a while and kind of forgetting to pay attention to them because I was so fascinated.
I know, it's fascinating.
I know, it's crazy.
I don't know that I could ever do that job because I'd probably fall asleep, but anyone who can, I'm very impressed by it.
Yeah.
Okay, then they say, okay, so the defense, I presume you have something to say, and she stands up and says, yes, we just want to prove that Mr. Smith is basically a good driver. He's just the victim of some unsubstantiated charges, and he should be able to keep his license. Tony stands up and says, what a crock-a-hooey.
Crock-a-hooey.
So the judge is like, prosecutor, if you can't control your witness, I'm going to have to throw him and this case out of court. To which Samantha says, oh, please, 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 please,
right.
please, please, please. She just wants to get out of there and get this over with.
Yeah.
Then they say, okay, prosecution, you can call your first witness. And the lawyer stands up and says, I would like to call Anthony Morton Micelli.
Yep.
And the look on Angela's face is excellent. So this is apparently the first time she's ever heard that his middle name is Morton.
I know. It's kind of funny, like we've gone 4 seasons. I'm not that for any reason his middle name would come up.
Right.
But it reminds me of the Seinfeld episode of when they learn Kramer's first name is Cosmo.
Yeah.
That's well into
the
season. Now, granted, it's a first name, which is insane that it took that long to learn his name. But it kind of reminds me of that, almost like maybe they kind of took the idea. I don't know.
Yes.
Probably not, but it's just kind of a neat idea that they might have.
I think this is a really cute moment, too, where she's just kind of like,
I know.
Morton.
I know. Now she's learning it.
You never told me your middle name was Morton.
Yeah.
Like, she finds Tony so charismatic, and he's very good looking, and he's super confident. And now she, found this one little nugget out about him that makes him maybe a little more attainable or human, I guess.
Right, because then she says, you never told me your middle name. And then he says, now you know why.
You know why.
Morton.
And there's nothing wrong with your middle name, Tony. I'm sure there are plenty of Mortons out there.
There are.
So Tony gets up and the bailiff swears him in, and he says, I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Nothing but the truth.
Yeah. And he says, you bet my life, my middle name is the truth.
Truth is my middle name.
And the judge says, I thought it was Morton.
Which is funny. That judge has had it.
Now, the guy who's playing the bailiff may look familiar to you, and that is because this is his 4th episode of Who's the Boss.
Oh, really?
Yeah, hang on, let me pull him up again. Dear. Okay, so we first saw him in Custody Part 2. He played the waiter. Then in Forgive Me, Tony, he was the workman when they go to the senior citizens' place for spaghetti night.
Oh,
he walks in with
the
sign.
That's interesting. It's in that many episodes.
Yeah, now he's in this episode as the bailiff, and he will be in one more episode. In season 8, Mr. Micelli builds his dream house as Dave. So yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think he may hold the record for one actor playing the most characters on Who's the Boss.
In one show.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
he's also in
Who's the
Flashdance.
Oh, who did he play in Flashdance?
I don't know. It says Mobby's Regular.
Oh, I think that's the place that she dances.
Club, yeah, whatever.
Okay, so the judge is like, I thought your middle name was Morton. So Tony sits down. And then his lawyer says, I just want you to tell us in your own words what exactly happened. Now, here's the thing. Tony doesn't know what happened.
Exactly.
The day of this accident. He only knows previous experiences with this guy. But he goes on to say, on the 12th of this month at 2:41 p.m., I was in the kitchen making lasagna. Making chocolate fudge cake when I heard a screech. And I ran out and I saw one Freddie Smith careening around the corner. Poor old lady McCafferty was crossing the street, and he said, I've never seen her move so fast.
Okay. Hang on. One quick note about that bailiff.
Yeah?
It was also in the Tony Danza show, and it just says Guy is his name.
So, I'm sorry.
The
The sitcom one or the Tony Danza show?
It must have been the sitcom one because he has a character name.
Yeah. Is it like 90s?
Yeah, 97.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, okay.
So he must be Tony Danza's friend. He's got to be, I bet. Sorry,
was he in
I
Taxi?
didn't mean to. I don't know. I'd have to go way back to find out. That's a good point.
Yeah, so he must know him. Tony's brother also shows up in a few episodes. I think,
that's true.
Like
he was in a wedding episode, right? He played like a
and he'll be back as a bartender.
I remember that.
Episode. Yeah,
a
very
bartender.
Good.
Wow, real stretch. I think he's a server on the wedding episode.
Okay, so he says he's never seen her move so fast, and he said he yelled at him to stop, but he had the nerve to pick up Angela's pink blouse, and then he's like, oh, hang on, that's my to-do list.
Yeah, I know. This part's kind of funny.
He's flipping through the pages of his notepad to recite what happened, and he accidentally went to the wrong page, which was Angela's dry cleaning.
Yeah.
So then the judge says, "Can you get to it and we get past Angela's skivvies here?"
Yeah.
And then the reaction shot of Angela's face is the best. I'm going to clip this and make it a GIF.
It needs to be because it's incredible.
It is so good. It's just, she just looks confused and befuddled and I don't know what it is, but it's fantastic.
I know. She just looks so confused.
So he decides he's just going to go into a speech here because his notes aren't going so well. And he's like, ladies and gentlemen of the court, like, I ask you, do we want dangerous drivers like this in our community? Or do we want, like, streets where we know it's safe for our children to play and our kids can run and jump and we can walk and enjoy the outdoors for a stroll and dogs can feel free to do dog things?
It's like you kind of lose them.
Right. So then... after that little speech, he's feeling pretty good about himself, as the prosecuting lawyer is, and he's like, okay, you're witness the defense. So she comes over, and at first she's like really kind of laying it on thick here, trying to get Tony on her side. So she's like, yeah, I mean, you look, what are you, in your 30s?
I'm sorry. I don't even know what that is. I'm sorry.
That's fine. I'm just going to keep going. She's like, you look like you're about in your 30s. You're obviously very healthy. And he's like, well, yeah, I mean, I try to work out regularly. And then he does a little flex for her. I'm surprised we didn't get an Angela.
And the muscle, like, pump goes through the jacket. Like, you see it. That's just Tony's little signature thing with the guns.
Right. And she says, if you don't mind me saying it, it's really paid off. And he's like, of course I don't mind you saying that. And then the judge is like, I mean, if you guys can move this along here, like, this is a courtroom, not a singles bar. But she says, I assure you that this line of questioning is going in a direction. I'm surprised that they didn't do an Angela reaction shot here of this lady kind of flirting with Tony.
I know. And you know what? Really quick, this woman, I mean, if anybody
Oh, right. I'm sorry. Yeah, go.
Well, if anybody's a Gary Shandling show fan, she was in 71 episodes as Nancy Bancroft.
Oh, I did not watch
So I would imagine
that show.
if you watched
I'm sure
Gary Shandling show. I mean, I watched a little bit. I don't remember it very well, but you probably remember her.
So the only thing I know her from, her name is Molly Cheek.
Yeah.
The main thing that I recognize her from is Jim's mom in American Pie. So Eugene Levy's wife.
Okay, yeah. I recognize her from that now. I see it.
And then it said Harry and the Hendersons, and I was like, oh, I love that movie. But she was actually on the TV show Harry and the Hendersons.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I
72 episodes.
They tried to make
I
TV
know.
shows with.
That's another movie that I want to go back and watch. I loved Harry and the Hendersons when I was a kid. Yeah. Did you watch that? I mean, did you like it or did you?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Yeah,
I love that a lot of back then it was the thing to make TV shows out of these movies.
Right.
They did it with Weird Science. They did, all these shows.
Right, yeah.
And they never
did well.
I know.
Is there anyone that we can think that did well?
That TV show after movie? I don't know.
Yeah.
Leave us a voicemail. I don't know.
I mean, I'm sure there's one or two.
Really? I guess.
I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, there has to be. There would have to be.
But yeah, you're right. I remember, and there was I think there was even Fame. Oh, no, wait. Did Fame, the TV show, do well?
Okay, right. That's probably one.
Yeah.
That was on for a while. But I'm talking. I mean, back in the
I know. I know.
I mean, there was a TV show for a lot of movies. They tried to like,
and it never had the same actors.
That's
always
the
different actors.
That I think was the big problem. People fell in love with these actors, and then they would do a show, and it's not the same people.
Right. It's like when it's back in the 80s when you get those cassette tapes where it was all these popular songs, but it was somebody else.
Yeah, same feeling. It's the same exact feeling.
Yes, exactly.
This is a bootleg version. I'm not listening to this. I'm not going to watch it.
So then she says, being such a young and healthy man, you probably have pretty good eyesight. And he says he has 20/20 peepers.
20/20.
Of course,
creepy.
Tony Micelli has 20/20 vision. So she's like, okay, but even with those, oh my goodness.
The cat just knocked the remote off the table. Sorry.
I'm going to keep going. She says, even with that perfect vision, you have not managed to get a license plate number off of this car. And he's like, well, I might have been able to if he wasn't.
So true.
If he wasn't an MX missile. And so she's like, how can you even be sure that this is the same car every time? And he says, I know it's the same car every time because there's a raccoon tail on the antenna. And then she holds up a raccoon tail and says, like this? And he says, yes, that's the one. And she says, no, it's not. I got this morning at the car wash.
Boom. She just owned him.
I know, but she really didn't.
I know. That's why I'm being sarcastic. But.
It's like, yeah, he's describing a black Corvette with a raccoon tail hanging off of the antenna. So I feel that is a fairly good description of a car to give. He doesn't have a license plate number. Because she's holding up a different raccoon tail, he's still recognizing what a raccoon tail looks like.
True.
It's not like she was like, no, this is a leopard tail or whatever. So then he's like, wait a minute, Your Honor, I know it's the same car, and she's twisting the truth all around. So Freddie's lawyer is saying, Mr. Micelli's testimony proves nothing and that you should just throw this out of court. Now the judge is kind of getting flustered with both of them, and he tells Tony, you can just, what does he say? Wait a minute, Mr. Micelli, this is a kangaroo court, and you can just hop away?
Yeah, yes. It's something like that.
I have no idea. Okay, so then he goes and sits down, and then Tony's lawyer calls Jesse to the stand. So he's like, I would like to call the driver of the van, Jesse Nash. Tony's all like, you go get him, get up there. Yeah. So Jesse goes up there, and they swear him in. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth? And he's like, yes. So he sits down, and they ask him, are you a straight A student? And he's like, yes. Except for one time I got a B- in algebra. So, Jesse really has a hard time not telling the absolute truth.
Yeah.
He can't even let them think that he had straight A's when he really got 1B. So then the lawyer asks him, is it true that you were driving the van that day? And he's like, well, I was driving.
Driving in what sense?
Yeah, I was in the van, the van was there, and I was there. And then I love how the judge is like, driving.
Yeah, driving, beep, beep, and he's doing driving motions and honking the horn. It's funny.
I know. Overall, this is not a fantastic episode, but there are a couple of really funny lines in here.
Yeah, I mean, doing the actual podcast, I'm realizing it's a little bit better of an episode than I thought.
Yes, that happens to me often as well. So he's still really struggling, and he's like, I guess you could say I was driving, and now Samantha can't take it. So she stands up and she's like, stop. I can't let you do this. I was the one driving the van.
Right.
And there's a hush across the courtroom. And or gasps. And then Tony's like, Samantha, what are you saying? And the court stenographer says...
Oh, no, she reads it right back again.
Stop. I can't take it anymore. I was the one who was driving the van. And then... I looked up this lady. Okay, wait. Her name is...
And what's funny about the stenographer is, that's what they're supposed to do anytime somebody's can you repeat? They'll have them read it out.
And they have to be matter of fact.
I know.
This lady's name is Pat Moore, and this is her only credit.
Okay.
And I'm very sad about that, because one, I think Pat's timing is great here. And I love the little look that she gives afterward.
It makes you wonder if maybe she was a real stenographer.
There's no way, you think? Or maybe she was like, I don't know, associated with the show in some other way, but I don't, like, this is literally her only
Pat
credit.
Moore, that's it. Pat Moore's like,
one actress credit. Who's the boss? I know. But I thought she did a very good job. Like, she's one of the moments in this episode where I laughed.
Right.
So yeah, I
just wonder what her role was.
Yeah, I know. It's interesting when you see someone with just one credit on something. So then Samantha says, Your Honor, do you have a witness protection program? Because now she's terrified that Tony's going to be, she's going to be in big trouble with Tony.
Of course.
Now we cut to the house. So you don't see any more of what happened in the actual courtroom. Instead, we go straight back to the house where Jonathan apparently is home alone. I guess he's 10 now? 10, 11?
He is home alone.
And the poor kid has gotten himself completely ready to go to what appears to be a soccer game.
Yeah.
Not even soccer practice.
I have never learned about him playing soccer.
No. But
this is new.
Yeah, I know. So now Jonathan's playing soccer, and we know that he recently started playing basketball, or at least trying to shoot baskets. So yeah, I think Jonathan's becoming a little more athletic here.
And I like that he says, I'm off to the slaughter.
Right.
Does that mean his team's going to get slaughtered?
Yes. Oh my gosh, what is happening?
The cats are going crazy.
So he comes downstairs and they walk in the house and everybody looks really solemn. And he's like, oh, I never knew, how did it go? And they say, we won. And then he's like, oh, I never knew that winning could make you so depressed.
I know.
And Jonathan says, but again, I always lose and, we're okay. So then he says, yeah, well, I'm off to the slaughter.
Right, yeah.
And he leaves. So not only was he home alone, he completely got himself ready for the soccer game. No one's going to watch Jonathan's soccer game.
I know. It's sad. Terrible. And who's picking him up to take him to the soccer game?
I'm guessing maybe he could just walk there. Yeah.
Oh,
maybe there's just like a park nearby. It's the 80s. I mean, you went out there and you fended for yourself.
That's a good point.
You found your own. Did anyone pack him snacks? I don't think so.
No, he probably packed his own snack.
Anyone make sure he had a water bottle? You
no
just
one
use
cares.
the water fountain.
They read court.
It's the 80s. Okay. Angela says to Tony, you haven't said a word since the trial. And Samantha says, please don't do this. Just say something. And Tony says, okay, you can't see Jesse anymore. And she says, anything but that. And Jesse's like, no, he's right. He put his trust in me and I let him down. So I get it. It was immature and irresponsible and I'm really sorry. So he says, I'm going to miss you. And she says that she's going to miss him. And then he's like, okay, well, I'll see you at school. And he leaves. So really, they'll still be able to see each other at school. But really, Tony's not going to let her date this kid anymore because of this.
I know. It is a bit extreme.
It is a bit extreme. I mean, it was a dumb thing to do, but she needs to take responsibility for doing it herself. Like, it's not completely his fault. And it's not like Jesse is a huge negative impact on her. For the most part, he seems like he's a really good kid.
Right. They weren't smoking weed in the van or anything.
No. But of course, Tony always at first super overreacts. And then we're going to send in Mona to knock him down.
Of course.
So they say goodbye and Jenny leaves. Jenny?
Jenny. Who the hell's Jenny?
Sorry, Jesse leaves. I don't know. This is very different. Who's the boss? If
Jenny
Samantha's
leaves.
dating a Jenny. Okay. So then he says, he's telling Samantha that he's very disappointed in her and she's upset. She goes, he says he doesn't know if he will ever be able to trust her again.
Wow.
And she goes upstairs.
Very intense.
Yes. And as he walks back into the living room, he's getting dagger stares from both Mona and Angela. And he's like, what are you two looking at? And they're like, oh, no, you did completely the right thing. You served justice with no mercy.
You served justice.
So then Angela says, all we're trying to say is don't we all have a couple of skeletons in our teenage closet? And Mona's like, oh, what's yours, dear? Did you leave the cap off your Clearasil tube?
God. Again.
I know.
Always got to be an attack.
Thanks, Mom. But Angela gets her here. She's like, no. At one point, when I was 16 years old, I think she says.
Yeah, and she went her.
Yeah, Jane Barth and her went and got fake ID cards.
Wow.
And then they went to the Boom Boom Room.
The Boom Boom Room.
Okay, but didn't we learn in the episode called Walk on the Mild Side that Angela never did any of these things, and that's why she wanted to go out with Jake the Snake?
Yeah, see, there's some inconsistencies here.
She says that she went to the Boom Boom Room, and Mona's like, that place was the biggest pickup place. And she's like, I know. And they used a fake ID to get into the bar, and they point out that was illegal. Mm-hmm. And Tony says, I'm appalled. And Mona says, I'm impressed. So she says that she had her first real drink, 2 grasshoppers. She danced with a man who was 24 years old.
Wow.
I know. And then on the way out, she threw up on her pumps.
Yeah, that's funny.
and that was Angela's night. She said it was the best night of her life. So
and which, again, we didn't know that she lived these kind of nights.
Yes. I mean, as far as we knew, she hadn't done any of these things, and that's why she wanted to make a list. So Mona says, all we're saying is that, we've all done these naughty things when we were kids. And she says to Tony, remember when you stole the street signs? That's what made me remember Roseanne Lawrence.
Right.
And he's like, that wasn't even one of the bad ones. So then he goes on to tell a story that at first he doesn't even want to say. And I don't know, he did something, and he got the Coast Guard was involved and a minesweeper. But he says,
minesweeper.
In the end, nobody was hurt. But he says he'll never forget it. When he had to tell his father, it was around his birthday, and he was supposed to get this shiny red bike. And he said his dad chewed him inside and out, and then he gave him the bike anyway.
Then he realizes, yeah, I got the bike anyway.
So now Samantha comes downstairs, and she says, you know what you said earlier about how you may never be able to trust me again? I'm going to work, and I'm going to get your trust back. Okay, I just want to say how quickly Samantha got to this point. With a real teenager, she would still be upstairs super angry and you're so unfair. I can't believe you're not going to let me see Jesse anymore. There'd probably be tears, but no. Sitcom kid comes downstairs and it's all wrapped up in 30 minutes.
Right.
He asks her, well, how did you like driving for the first time ever? And they basically make up here, and he's letting her know that she's in trouble, but that, he is going to trust her again.
Right, for sure.
And he asks her, like, how did you like driving for the first time? And she says, it was great. And he's like, I was afraid of that.
Oh, very Tony.
So now the tag of this episode is so silly, and it's supposed to be a homage, I guess, to Dragnet.
Yes, it's exactly what it is. It's even the Dragnet music.
So they show 4 black and white mugshots, and they say that Freddie Smith was convicted of reckless driving and his license was suspended for a year. And then they show a mugshot of they show a mugshot of Jesse.
Oh, yeah.
And they say that his license was suspended for 30 days for allowing an unlicensed driver to operate a vehicle. But he has been given visitation rights to Samantha a few nights a week.
Oh, thank goodness.
Then they show a black and white of Samantha, and her face looks really funny. And it says that she's not going to be allowed to apply for her driver's license until a few months after her 16th birthday.
That's funny.
She's grounded for 6 weeks, and she's not going to be allowed to go to the Bloomingdale's end of the year clearance sale.
Then they just show this most ridiculous picture of Angela.
I know, it's like, and everybody else's mugshot looks similar to how they looked in the episode.
Right, and then you get this randomness.
Angela looks like Tony made her clean the whole house.
I know.
And then took this picture. Her hair is a mess. She's so angry, and it says she was sentenced to, she doesn't get chocolate fudge cake or something for 2 weeks.
Right.
For making fun of her housekeeper's middle name. And then they show all the 4 mugshots in one screen, and that's the end of the episode. Yeah, that was really cute. Her mugshot's the best one.
The Dragnet music.
Okay, so you go first with rating this time.
Oh, I do?
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
I just made that up. I don't know.
All right. Yeah, you said that with a lot of...
Yeah, I said it as if I knew.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's my new plan.
I don't know. Like, I mean, after doing the show, I think it went up a little bit, but I don't know. I'm gonna give it a 6.5.
Okay.
Or 6.5.
Nice.
It did have its moments. There were a couple of funny moments, but it just, again, like the whole idea of this guy skidding around the neighborhood, and then it just escalates to a court scene, which again, it made the episode cute. Like right. The court scenes are funny. The judge is kind of funny.
Yeah.
And even the bailiff has his. It's just and the lawyers are funny. Like it almost is like. The best way to describe it is it's almost like I don't want to say satire, but it just like how over the top can we get with this episode? Right. The silliness in the courtroom and stuff. Like, yes, we know this couldn't really happen,
right?
But we don't care. We just want to be like make a silly episode. So I think I'll take that for what it's worth. But overall, I'm just gonna stick with the 6.5.
Okay, yeah, I went with a 6 with this one, and I feel like I could go up to a 6.5. After the podcast, because it did make me enjoy it a little bit more.
Right.
There were some great funny lines.
Yeah, that's what I think too.
I enjoyed seeing Jesse again. I like Jesse's character more now than I did before.
Right, because he was super honest and super nice.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't mean to take away from here.
And I liked Angela's involvement in Samantha here just like her working with Tony to catch Freddie, her bringing up the idea of the kids going to the movies, and then, her also sticking up for Sam when she got in trouble. Mona too, but I just really like their kind of co-parenting in this one.
Who's the boss around here, me or my mother? Or maybe it's you?
I went with Samantha as the boss because, in the end, she did what was right. And she stood up for Jesse, and she didn't let him take the fall for her, even though it got her in a lot of trouble and possibly, risked her relationship with Jesse.
Okay, that's it.
That's yeah.
I agree with you. I think Samantha was the boss as well.
Okay. Did you just change your mind? Because at first she seemed surprised. Oh, okay.
No, I was just trying to
build tension.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. Anything to keep people listening, I guess. I just no, I agree. I think that she, eventually she realizes now maybe it's the whole like we're in a court of law and if we lie we can go to jail kind of thing. But she realizes she needs to do the right thing, and she realizes Jesse's really sticking his neck out for her. Right. And then she's just like, oh God, I got to just speak up now, and whatever the consequences are, they just are. So, and at first he tries to like convince Jesse to lie, but then she comes out and says, no, this is where I stand. Because at first I was like, is Tony the boss? But he's kind of all over the place and kind of
he's too much of a hothead.
Yeah, exactly. And just, right. He's, and he looks insane. Like he's going to kill this kid at one point when he's all like, Freddie Schmidt. Like you think he's just gonna like go out and like he's lost his mind, right? At that point,
and even Mona, like I know Mona kind of brings him around with Sam, but still, I don't know.
She's not in it enough to be considered boss, in my opinion.
Sam was really, she made the right decision.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that 100%.
Okay, you can reach us at the Who's the Boss Podcast on Instagram. I'm sorry, it's at Who's the Boss Podcast on Instagram. Or Who's the Boss Pod 1 on Twitter. On Facebook, our page is the Who's the Boss Podcast page. Or you can go to anchor.fm/WTB podcast, and there you can leave us a voice message or an AO or anything else you would like to talk about. All right, so the next episode is another tough one for me. Just Me and Mona. Just Mona and Me is the name of the episode.
Oh, okay.
It does star Leslie Nielsen. But once we get through that one, which I'm going to see, maybe I will enjoy it more now than I have before.
Okay. Yeah, I'm curious.
But after that, we're going to get into Yellow Submarine, where Sam gets her first job. Another single parent.
I think I remember that one.
Yeah, that one's a fun one.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to get into some good ones. So, okay, thank you, everyone.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks.
If you like this podcast, please subscribe and give a big thumbs up. And tell all your friends. And maybe you can tell your grandma, your mother, and your sister or brother. Maybe have no siblings. Tell your dog and cats. Bye. Bye.